Veteran Salute, sponsored by DeVaughn James Injury Lawyers.
Wednesday nights are time for our weekly segment, Veteran Salute. In fact, it is our chance to honor heroes from this area and thank them for their service. Drafted into the Army in 1970, this veteran learned the technical side of the military, sending Morse code and fighting in combat in Germany. And tonight we introduce you to Army veteran Stan Spice.
So 69, I was going in and out of school, working and going to school, and by 1970 I was drafted. I did my basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then my AIT, which was the 05 Baker, the radio operator, that was at Fort Knox as well. And during that time, I learned I had to carry this radio on my back, and it had a 25-foot whip antenna on it. And it was at that point in time that I figured out that I was probably going to be a target if I went, into combat. And so, but there I was already in that program, so I had to learn Morse code. When I was over in Germany, that's where my final duty station was, in Fulda, Germany, with the 14th Armored Cavalry Unit. When I got there, I thought I was going to be in communications and radio transmission and all that. So when I got there, the first sergeant, the first day I was there, he's looking through my profile, reading through there, and he says, "Oh, you went to Purdue." He says, "Do you know how to type?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, that's fine, we're going to teach you." He says, "Sergeant Hogan he's leaving in about 6 months, so we're going to need a replacement for him as training NCO." Some of the things that I was responsible for was, being that it was in a non-combat zone, it was during the Cold War, and so we did have, East Germans and Russians on the other side of the border. We were only 14 kilometers from the border, and so that was what our primary responsibility was to patrol that border and guard that border. Being that it was a non-combat zone, many of the soldiers had their wives and families there, and they lived off base housing. If there was an attack or we had to do a head to the border, there had to be a map, and it was my responsibility to keep that map up to date and make sure that every place was hit, and the fastest route. And so we'd mark out where everybody lived. I didn't go to the border all that often, but they made sure everybody got turns at the border. So I was up there a few times. We'd have forced marches, 17-kilometer marches back, and all the platoons would race back, and the platoon that got back first usually got a weekend pass or something, So my platoon, we never got back in time, so we never got the passes. I didn't really want to go in, that's why I kind of hemawed around. I got drafted, and it turned out to be, I'm glad I did, and I'm very proud of the fact that I did, and very proud of the fact that I served overseas. It's been a big change in my life, and I'm happy to have served.
After he left the military, Stan worked in computer science and then moved on, working for Payless Shoe Store in Topeka. Now, we highlight veterans in our community each and every week, just like Stan. And if you know somebody that we could feature in this segment, please check the Veteran Salute section at KSNT.com. Plus, sharing their story isn't the only way we honor these heroes, because each week the featured vet receives a gift. Take a look.
The DeVaughn James Injury Lawyers here with our Veteran of the Week, and that's Sergeant Stan Spice, who served our country in the United States Army and even served in Germany. On behalf of all of Kansas, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. It's been my honor.
Veteran Salute, sponsored by DeVaughn James Injury Lawyers.